The Finalmouse Starlight has been beaten. This is the new G-Wolves HTX Ace, a full-size solid-shell wireless mouse that's even lighter than the Starlight 12 Small.
He's Eric and I'm Devin, and today we'll be talking in depth about the shape, specs, and other features of this mouse to see if it is the right one for you. And stick around to see where this mouse ends up on our tier list.
The weight on this mouse is insane. The HTX tips the scales at just 41 grams, which is even lighter than both Starlight sizes. Most impressively, the HTX does this with a solid plastic top shell as opposed to the magnesium alloy on the Starlight. The weight balancing is also great and movements feel effortless, allowing me to quickly react and change directions with the mouse. At just 41 grams, I was worried about the build quality of this mouse, but the top shell quality has blown me away, as there is zero side and top flexing, no matter how hard I squeeze. Of course, this insane top shell can't come without sacrifices, and the bottom shell of the mouse is even flimsier than that of the Hati X Plus, and flexes with the lightest touch. The bottom shell quality shouldn't affect use in game, but I'd be careful with how you store this mouse. The HTX is one of the more unique shapes I've tried lately. For reference, I have 18.5 by 10cm hands. Looking at the dimensions, you can immediately see that this mouse is very low. Most notably, the button height is the lowest on any mouse I've tried, which makes this mouse feel extraordinarily precise. The buttons also have some nice comfort grooving, which helps me align my grip consistently. The hump is also very low, and peaks towards the middle of the mouse. The back of the hump does stick out a bit, which makes the mouse sit deep in my palm, allowing for some improved stability. However, the very low-profile nature of this mouse results in too little palm support, and quickly leads to pain for me on the right side of my hand when using the mouse in an aggressive claw grip. So despite the incredible weight of the mouse, it's far from my top performer as I struggle to get through even a round of aim training with it. The HTX is a fairly narrow grip width and flares out noticeably towards the front and back. The front and back flares have a nice rounding and create good places to lock your fingers in, no matter how you curl them. The flares also allow for additional control for inner hand micro adjustments, however the hump and back flare are a little too wide and get in the way of side to side adjustments. The HTX is not a clone of any current shape, with its closest comparison in my collection being the Razer Viper Mini. The two mice share somewhat similar side curvature, but the HTX is a decent bit lower and a bit wider at pretty much all points, and seems to have slightly straighter sides. The hump on the HTX sticks out a bit more at the back end than the Viper Mini, which makes it a bit worse for inner hand micro adjustments. Compared to the Lamzu Atlantis Mini, the HTX has a much smaller and less pronounced hump, less ledging for liftoff, and a wider grip width. Both mice have similarly wide feeling back flares, which can be restricted for inner hand micro adjustments if you have small to medium sized hands. Let us know in the comments if you'd like us to do more comparisons to different shapes, and we may just make some shorts going over them. And while you're there, consider giving us a like and subscribing, as that would help us out a lot. Overall, the grip styles I would greatly recommend this mouse for are any fingertip grip only for large hands, relaxed fingertip grip and knuckle claw for medium to large hands, as well as relaxed claw and tilt claw for small to medium sized hands.
The HTX operates in both a 2.4 GHz and a wired mode. The mouse comes available in a 1000 Hz polling rate and a 4000 Hz polling rate version. We have the 1000 Hz polling rate one, so all testing will be done on that version. It has a good implementation of a Nordic MCU, with no noticeable motion latency and click latency of just 1.4 milliseconds, on par with the G Pro Superlight and the Viper Ultimate. It uses the latest available tech, using a 3395 sensor with motion sync capabilities. Unfortunately, the mouse does not have a great battery life currently, due to sleep mode not working properly. However, the mouse does come with a non-exploding battery, and you can actually reach the mouse switch to turn it off, unlike some other recent releases from G-Wolves. And we do finally get a USB-C port on a G-Wolves mouse. However, the cable that it comes with is a somewhat stiff and cheap, very generic feeling USB-C cable like you would buy it just randomly off of Amazon, and has no angled stress relief and is not even comparable to the former very light and flexible micro USB cables that G-Wolves would ship their old mice with.
The main buttons on the HTX use zippy 6EM switches, which are light and spammable but not very tactile. The implementation of the clicks on the HTX is quite poor, with there being a lot of pre-travel, giving the clicks a slow and mushy feel. This is my biggest objective problem with this mouse, and while the clicks are usable, they have to be some of the worst I've ever felt. The side buttons, on the other hand, are actually pretty impressive. We've ragged on G-Wolves side buttons a lot previously, but these ones are quite nice. They have a good amount of pre and post travel, are a good size, are relatively stable, and are light yet tactile. These are up there with some of the best side buttons on the market, so good job, G-Wolves. The scroll wheel on the HTX is pretty good. It's more defined than even Zowie's scroll wheels, but it's not nearly as loud. The defined steps and very tight tensioning make this one of the best scroll wheels for gaming, though it might be a bit harsh for browsing. The scroll click is fairly standard. It's very light but has too little travel, which can make it hard to spam. Here's a sound test of all the buttons. The coating on the HTX is gritty in textures, sort of like Razer mice, but a bit softer and rounder feeling. While the coating does aid with grip a bit, it's not the grippiest, and can still get sweaty. G-Wolves does include some pretty nice grip tape with the mouse though, so you can improve the coating at the price of changing the dimensions slightly. The skates on the HTX are okay. They have little surface area and moderately rounded edges, which leads to a smooth enough, if somewhat inconsistent glide feeling. I would much prefer it if G-Wolves switch back to their old skate design, but for now I recommend aftermarket skates if you get this mouse. I was going to do a full technical explanation of eager and defer debouncing, but that seems like a longer discussion for another video. In any case, the HTX does have some confusingly named debounce settings which do affect click latency, with setting A being the fastest and E the slowest. However, a separate kind of debouncing is also used, which is hard locked at 25 milliseconds. The 25 milliseconds of debounce makes it impossible for me to click over 15 CPS on this mouse, so I would not recommend this mouse for anyone who wants to click faster than that.
This is probably G-Wolves' best mouse to date. It comes so close to being a very top tier mouse, and is mostly held back by its terrible click feeling, which is why the HTX finds itself near the bottom of A tier on our tier list. Additionally, at a price point of $119, the HTX puts itself into very premium mouse pricing, coming in at about $30 more than the new norm of high-end mice like the Pulsar X2 and Lamzu Atlantis. However, the HTX simply doesn't feel as premium as the ultra premium offerings from Logitech and Razer that come in at that similar, well over $100 price point.